Hi everyone, it's Terry here from nutsaboutsstamping.com. In today's video, I'm going to make one last Christmas card idea, and this time it's going to be a very playful wreath card. I'm going to use my Home Together dies and my Layering Circles dies to help me create the elements for the wreath on my card. My card base is going to be real red, and what I decided this time was to make a square layout for my card. I just wanted something different. I have some square envelopes in my drawer and thought, you know, it's time to start making some different kinds of shapes for my cards. Now to that, I'm going to add a layer of Whisper White. And what I want to do with this Whisper White is, first of all, I want to stamp a phrase. Now this card doesn't necessarily need a phrase on the outside, but I'm going to add one. And I'm going to use the Poinsettia Petals stamp set for the phrase that says Merry Christmas. And that is quite a long phrase, which is why I think it works really well for my card for this kind of layout. So I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas at the bottom, on the front, and then I'm going to set these two, the card base and the layer, aside while I die cut some of the embellishments that I want to use on the front. Now, you know that I have absolutely been over the moon about the Trimming the Town product suite. And I have this paper with the wreaths on it, and I thought it would be really fun to use the Home Together dies. And there's this little wreath die. So what I want to do is die cut a bunch of those little wreaths, and then I have some scrap old olive, and I want to die cut several trees. So I will go ahead and bring in my die cutting machine, and I'll make one pass for you to see what it looks like. And then I will stop the video and I will create several others. You don't want to watch me die cut each wreath out individually, I'm sure. So I will do that when the camera is not recording. Like so. Just going to slide this a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. I'll just put this out of the way just for a second. Okay, here's the little wreath, and here's the little tree. So I'll go ahead and I will continue die cutting several more, and I'll be back in a minute and I'll show you how to use these elements to create a wreath. Not quite yet. I forgot that I wanted to create a base for my wreath. So that's what I'm using the Layering Circles framelits for. So I'm starting with the largest circle framelit in the pack and a piece of scrap Whisper White. And I'm going to die cut the circle. And then I'm going to leave the circle on my cutting plate, and I'm going to bring in the second largest circle, like so, and going to layer it on top, and I'm going to die cut a circle out of my circle. And what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take this circle and set it aside for a future project. But what I want to use is the die cut circle, the sort of the frame, the circle frame, and that's going to be a frame on my card. I forgot a couple of additional steps for my card. I think it's time for a vacation. Out of the Home Together dies, there's this little house, and I wanted to die cut that out of a scrap piece of real red cardstock. So I'll do that, and that will be a final embellishment for the front of my card. I promise. Back in a moment. I want to start by using some liquid glue on the circle that I die cut, or the circular frame that I die cut out, and I'm going to use some multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to adhere that down first onto the front of my card, or this layer for the front of my card. So that'll be the first thing I'll do. Try and get it nice and centered, like so. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to let this dry for a second. There's a little bit of glue that has seeped out. So I'll let that dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trees and my wreath, and I want to, first of all, position them around the outside of, well, I guess around the circle. So you want to sort of figure out the layout first before you start adhering so that everything is nice and evenly spaced. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the next steps. I have everything positioned the way that I like it, and the next step then would be to adhere it all down. So I'm going to use my silicone sheet, and I'm going to take each element and I'm going to add a touch of glue right on the circle itself, and then just adhere each piece down. Now I could use mini Stampin' Dimensionals and pop each of these up, but I think for this card I'm going to just have mine lie flat. And I'll be back in a moment and I'll show you the final product all adhered down. My fingers are sticky, so I think it's time to stop the video and get this all sorted out. There we go. We have all of the elements adhered down. And then you remember that I die cut this little house. So I think I'm going to adhere that flat, although you could use some mini Stampin' Dimensionals as well. And you'll see that the center of the house, when you die cut it, it actually die cuts out a star. And I have a plan for that as well. So I'm going to pop my house into the center of my wreath, looking really cute. And then I have my card base. So I'm going to just flip this over and I'm going to add some glue like so. Whoops. Everything is so sticky. And then I'm going to adhere this down like so. Now, for the inside of my card, I'm going to add a layer of Whisper White. And what I'll do is I'll take a photo of the inside of my card, and after this video is over, you can go over and to my blog and have a look at the finished product. But what I was thinking I would do is take the star from the center of the house and one last tree, and I would adhere that inside to complete my Christmas card. Now, there's all sorts of embellishments that you can put on, and I'm just going to grab mine and we'll talk about possibilities. In the mini catalog from August to December 2020, there's this ribbon pack and then the Snowflake Sequins. So I decided to pull these out and see how I could use them on the front of my card. Since those products are going to be retiring on the 3rd of January or sooner if supplies run out, and I wanted to use them up. So I added a strip of the old olive ribbon and tied it in a knot. And then I used a little snowflake sequin on each of the trees around the front of my card or around the wreath. And I think this is a really cute Christmas card idea that would be designed to create for somebody special this year. If you would like a listing of everything I used and the measurements for the cardstock layers and so on, head on over to my blog, www.nutsaboutstamping.com. And while you're on my blog, consider subscribing to my free newsletters. I send 2 newsletters a week with a project idea you won't see anywhere else. And actually, in the coming weeks, I'm going to be featuring the next catalog's products so you can get a sneak peek advance for those. I'm Terry. I am Nuts About Stamping. I hope you'll create a beautiful card today too. Bye for now.